The purpose why I'm selling chips and sweets is initially for my matric ball, because my mom, as she's a pensioner, I'm trying to help her because she's trying to give me the send-off that she can't give. So that's why I'm stepping in and taking responsibility.
From a viral grade 12 pupil selling sweets every morning at the local taxi rank, all to attend his Cape Town school's matric dance, to a young Ike's rugby star who got a shock call from coach Rassie Erasmus. By the end of today's discussion in The Lead, we hope to leave you feeling extra inspired and proud to be a South African in 2025.
To be able to come back to the newsroom and tell these stories in a space that everyone feels we don't do enough of. I get to sit and see the impact and see the emails and read people's responses and the joy to these stories, which just tells me South Africans want to hear these stories too.
Well, that's the voice of Good News editor Paul Herman, who joins me in the hot seat in our Cape Town studios next. Later in the show, to our trending topic, the cat's 9 lives could soon be up. A controversial Gauteng tenderpreneur abandons his bail bid. And finally, the business team tells us the economy barely budged in this year's first quarter.
To stay tuned to The Lead for every edition, hit the follow and subscribe buttons on our Spotify, Apple, and YouTube podcast channels.
You can also mail us, thelead@24.com. My name's Graham Robenheimer. Let's chat all this and more right here on The Lead on News 24. It was our trending topic in the last edition. It's about that all-important bash to mark the end of a long schooling career. For Mitchell's Plain grade 12 pupil Rudolph Lekay, attending his school's October matric ball is a must, even though his mom, Rosaline, a pensioner, won't be able to afford it. So Lekay wakes up at 4:30 every morning to sell sweets and chips at the nearby taxi rank before taking the bus to Florida High School in Ravensmead. It's an incredible story. It's still trending via viral video and, of course, on the front page of News 24. It has our Good News editor Paul Herman in especially high spirits today, and he joins me now in studio to chat more about this and May's coverage of Good News stories. Last night you were so chipper, Paul, to discuss this, and it's been incredible to see the story catapult essentially to the top most read article on News 24, right?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, for those of you listening, this story was just a lovely little story about a young man showing some initiative to make his matric ball dream come true, and it's just resonated really well with our audience and people outside. It was the most read story from News 24 on Monday. But we've had an outpouring of people emailing to help donate. We've had 3 different broadcasters also wanting to get in touch with him to do their own stories. I mean, it's made this young man a little bit famous, I guess.
Yeah, because you guys put out a call to action essentially on feelgood@news24.com via the emails there. We had our multimedia team, Storm Simpson, alongside Lisa Lee Solomons, our News 24 journalist, out there going through the motions with Rudolph at the taxi rank this morning as he sells his wares, getting the fuller story from him. He knew that he couldn't afford to go to this matric ball. He knew his mom would help out any which way that she could, but they just didn't have the money. Here he comes with this unique idea, and he had 130 Rand to start off. He gets this Christmas box, and then he decides this is why I'm going to buy my first inventory.
That's 100% correct. In December, he said he got 150 Rand for Christmas, and he wanted to set the goal of raising 10,000 Rand for everything that a matric ball requires, the dress code, the food on the night, maybe even a car hire or something like that. And he decided then and there during Christmas to spend that 150 Rand. He spent about a third of it on sweets, a third of it on chips, $20 on plastic packets in which to wrap them, and he had 20 Rand to spare to make his way home on his first trip via taxi and begin his grand plan. And since then, he's been selling these sweets every morning at the town centre taxi rank in Mitchell's Plain, and he's slowly chipping away at his goal.
Paul, he gets up super early. I mean, much earlier than I could ever withstand at my particular age of 35. But yeah, he's a youngster. He's raring to go. He's a businessman in the making. Let's hear it from himself as our News 24 team joined him at the taxi rank earlier this morning. Have a listen.
So my daily routine every morning, Monday to Friday, is I wake up at 4 o'clock. I get dressed. I do all the things I need to do in the morning. And about at 5 to 5, there's a guy what comes up my street. He gives me a lift every morning. When I arrive here, I arrive about 5:05. And then there's a lady what I get, her name is Auntie Tasnima. She sells papa, but I have much to thank to her because she helped me store my backpack, my skateboard and everything. So I put it in a bucket, and then about 5:15, that's when my day really gets started. Because I start at A1 at the bus terminus, Kills River bus, and then I make my move and I make my way all the way to D5. So it means I'm in a countless circle, it's going like a snake almost. Because when this bus leaves, another bus comes. So it means if those people leave, other people comes. So that's what motivates me every day to just that I know that there is money to be made. So that is the morning routine. And then it's 7:20 to maybe 7:30. I get the 7:30 bus. And then I leave the school, I do my things. And when I come back from school, and then I sell in the town center. From the town center, I come about home 5:30. And then I go buy my stock, if I need stock. And then I go home.
And then he goes home and he's still got to think about matric. He's still got to think about potentially helping his mom out. He says, as per our reporting, that he still buys a loaf of bread and a milk here to help out the house. That's incredible.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, his story is probably very common. He says he himself comes from an area known for crime, but he just wants to be able to enjoy his final matric year. He's really looking forward to his matric ball, and he just decided to make something of his year and do this himself. So I think he's going to keep going, but given the outpouring of love from some readers, he might get a little bit more than he ever hoped for after this.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you were saying that he could make up to $600 a day. He has this sort of goal of around 10,000 Rand by the time that the October matric ball sort of swings around. And then our team interviewed him about this particular dreams that he has for the future. I thought it's such a lekker clip. Let's have a listen to what he has to say about what he plans to do once he finishes exams.
So my goal after school is to open up my own franchise in a few years after school. I was brainstorming about the fast food industry. So it's a restaurant or fast food place.
That's him dreaming big. That's him already seeing into the future.
Absolutely brilliant. We've got to give credit to the reporters Lisa Lee Solomons. This was first written and published by her yesterday, and then our videographer Storm Simpson were out there chatting with him. But look, he initially said he wants to go and study business. He feels like he has a mind for it. He clearly has a knack for it. And one day, hopefully, he can make a living out of what he wants to do, fast food and a franchise.
Give us a glimpse of some of the readers' emails. What are they suggesting? What are they offering at this stage? Are we talking about monetary donations? And how's Rudolph responded to this outpouring of love from our readers?
So we felt because he's still a school child and his mother's assisting him, you can get in contact with News 24 via our email, feelgood@news24.com. From there, we can put you in touch with his mom. For the most part, then people just agree on whatever they feel comfortable with, if they are. But we've had about around 90 emails of people just saying they're so inspired by the story. It's quite a lot for one day. And they just want to help give. Please let us know how we can get in contact. They've been inundated with requests as well from broadcasters to also interview. But News 24 readers specifically, I saw one person, I think his name was Henk. He emailed this morning on Tuesday and he said he wanted to give 5,000 Rand. He's living in Northern Ireland.
Sure.
We've had quite a few people living abroad who've read this story and just felt like here's a young man from a neighborhood who just wants to better his circumstances. People feel inspired by that and they want to help him.
And then, of course, as you say, other media houses, broadcasters, retelling this story, seeing it on News 24. I love it. It's great to be part of something like that can possibly change his life. And I think what people often forget, Paul, before we move on to our other good news stories, is that he can look back on this forever. He'll have this News 24 article living forever. If he has to ever apply for a job, perhaps, maybe, he doesn't go the business route, he applies somewhere else, whatever, he's got this to hold dear and to basically boost his CV for the rest of his life. It's incredible.
Absolutely correct. And really, this started with a video that went viral on Facebook. One of his customers posted it about 2 or 3 months ago. So that was in February, and it was seen by more than 100,000 people. But since then, he's just been doing his thing. He's just been doing it. I think since we've published it, it's become like really public now. And he can look back on it with pride, I guess. And it just started with him wanting to do what he could in his area.
Fantastic. Staying with the theme of matrics, here's this duo out of Paul. You essentially tell the story of these 2 matric pupils. They were part of this, beauty pageant. It was a competition to create sort of a very authentic, original outfit. And then they decided, let's use Checkers 60/60 bags. They sort of came out on the Met Gala from trash category, and they won. It's always Checkers.
I think the Checkers 60/60 brand has become so synonymous with South Africanisms. They won in a special category called Mr. and Mrs. or Miss Creative, and that was from the category Met Gala from Trash, right? So they didn't win the overall award, but they won a award. So the 2 pupils involved were Beate van Wyk, a pupil from Paarl Girls High School, and her partner Jacques Brandt from Boland Landbou. Their outfits were designed by Hesmerie van Deventer, and she crafted these lovely gowns and waistcoats from 60/60 bags.
Fantastic. One of our readers writing there, congratulations, well done. I'm very proud of the creativity and, of course, saving our planet. Another person, Tia, writes, brilliant. I hope Checkers spoil and sponsors you, is often something that you would hear in this particular scenario. Okay, and then this story, you did quite well with this. It was last week, right? She's only 17, reads the headline, and just completed her actuarial science degree. Meet Mongiwe Hazel Ntuli. I mean, she's started university at just the age of 15. She tells how she was doing basically grade 4 maths papers whilst the rest of her peers were doing grade 3 maths papers. And yes, she goes on, the first in her household, 17 years old, and excelling at university. Mind-blowing stuff.
It's an incredible story, so much so that some people couldn't even believe that this could be true, but it certainly seems true. I mean, her old high school congratulated her, the university has posted this publicly, and the South African government also has given her great props. She excelled exponentially over the course of her schooling career, so she would always jump a grade at certain points, to the point where she actually matriculated from Kenilworth High Secondary School in Joburg at the age of 14. She started her first year of a BSc degree in actuarial science at the University of Pretoria at 15, completed that within the 3 years, so that was completed in her 17th year. And this year, she's doing her honours at the bright age of 18. When her other peers are writing matric, she'll be doing her honours at the University of Pretoria. Amazing.
Sure, absolutely. And then you guys did this very unique piece where you sort of had like Mzansi, South Africans sort of react to this headline. And I remember I sort of had a lacquer chuckle at one of the main quotes was, don't show this to my mom. Somebody reacting to that, which I completely understand and agree with.
It's all the teenagers around the country going, if my own mother sees this, please, I'll be in a lot of trouble. Please delete the post. I'll expect to be able to repeat the feat. Another one that made me laugh was someone said, this achievement is so remarkable, it ruined my day. So it must have been an adult in the working world going, wow, look at this young person. And sometimes it feels scarcely believable, but really this person, she must really be a prodigy to be
Absolutely.
able to excel so well and just being lauded by the entire country, really.
I know that you teamed up with the sport department, our editor Lloyd Bernard, to tell this very interesting story of Ntokozo Makaza. It's also been featured very briefly in one of our past editions of The Lead. Essentially, he's an Ikes star rugby player. He wowed in the recent Varsity Cup and Championship finals. And then suddenly he gets tipped that he can expect a call up for the Springbok alignment camp that happened last month in Cape Town. And then, he's out with his chommies, having a coffee, and then the next minute he gets a call from
Rassie Erasmus, head coach of the Springboks. This is just a classically great sort of surprise story, let's put it that way. It is a sports story written by our sport editor, Lloyd Bernard, but we decided to collaborate with Good News simply because of the surprising nature of the call-up. It's not usual for a 23-year-old university student to go straight into a Springbok alignment camp. They usually have there's different routes. They play for clubs, they play for franchises. Now, Ntokozo has actually now been drafted into the Cheetahs in 2025.
Yes.
But this was before that, and he just really, it would be like a university star at another university getting a call up from the head national coach and being, wow, is this really happening to me? And I think he didn't believe the phone call at first. He just couldn't believe it was happening.
The usual pathway, as you alluded to, is high school. You do very well. There's a lot of success there. Of course, Craven Week, very historic in its own right. Then you perhaps maybe get a junior contract at a particular union. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, right? Yeah, Ntokozo has absolutely defied the odds. I hope that he goes on to join the Springboks one day.
I think it gives a lot of people hope in any field, really, that the eyes of one of the most influential people in rugby, much beloved Rassie Erasmus, is watching varsity rugby and potentially choosing players for his squad based on what he sees. I think that's so great and so inspiring, and what made the story really not just a sports story, but a really good news story.
How does it make you feel, Paul, as a Good News editor, when you see this groundswell of response over all these topics, notwithstanding, the matric people who sell sweets early in the morning, and, suddenly he's got people from Ireland sending 5,000 Rand his way?
I mean, I feel really blessed to be doing this. I spent many years doing hard news and politics, and those stories are important too, but to be able to come back to the newsroom and tell these stories in a space that everyone feels we don't do enough of, I get to sit and see the impact and see the emails and read people's responses and the joy to these stories, which just tells me South Africans want to hear these stories too. We will never ignore all the other news going on, but there's other stories we could celebrate as well. And we've been doing this for 6 months at the Good News desk, and I just think it's a great privilege, really. It's never really been tried before, at least not at News 24 or anywhere for that matter in the country. Maybe I stand to be corrected, but this role of Good News is... Yeah, it's gone really, really well so far, and it's also these extra blessings that come from it, being able to help people and that sort of thing.
I definitely believe nothing as big as this on the platform that is News 24, has achieved such great heights. So kudos to you and the team.
There's one person, there's good things guy, Brent Lindike. He deserves his props. He's created a little niche for himself. But in traditional media, it's kind of really hasn't been the case. Yeah.
Quickly wrapping up, some of the other big hitters for the Good News desk over the month of May.
So another little lovely story that we did, which we covered about 2 weeks ago, was South Africa's gardener at the Chelsea Flower Show won both gold and the Lawrence Medal, the first time for the country.
Was also on the lead.
Beautiful garden. They had like a rooibos infused river. They had, it just looked so lush.
The pictures, you need to see the pictures. Nothing we're going to describe here is going to do any justice, right?
It's amazing. We did about 3 or 4 stories just on this topic, and each and every one of them seemed to be resonating with readers and doing quite well. We had a lovely story from Twagai Selecha. He's one of our crime reporters in Joburg, but he decided to do something a little bit different. He interviewed this Gogo, who's 78 years old, who walked away with a beauty pageant crown in her little area. And the headline was, "I finally made it. She always dreamed of being part of a beauty pageant crown." That story too was also read by 30,000 people who just loved the idea of celebrating this woman's journey and beauty. And then finally, one of my favorite stories was we did a story about a man who was a teacher for 40 years, but always had the dream of opening his own pottery school, but couldn't do it because he had another vocation and needed to pay his bills. And he loved teaching, but then in retirement decided to take the dive into doing it, opened up his own little studio, and now he has about 12 pottery wheels, 5 kilns, and he's living his dream at the ripe old age of 64 for the last 3 years. That story had great impact. He's now been the subject of an ETV segment, as well as an interview on Heart FM, and it's just giving life after retirement,
And you came across that story whilst out with your family, Paul, is that right?
That's exactly right. I was holidaying. So he's based in George in the Garden Route. I was holidaying there. And we went there as like an event, an excursion. Let's go do some pottery. I didn't really want to do it at the time, but I'm so glad I did, because I went in for like an hour and I came back being so inspired by this man, because during his lesson, he gives you these little life lessons. You can tell he's a teacher. You can tell that there's a teaching gene in there. And he told us a little bit about his dream and how he always wanted to do this. And I felt this is a classic story about a South African doing something extraordinary, chasing their dream, making it real. That's the type of story we want to tell in the good news section. And if I could make that story work, then they all work, if that makes sense. And it seemed to resonate. Broadcasters also reached out to him and did their own stories on him too.
Yeah, I think he's also fortunate that Paul happened to step into his studio that day with his family. Paul, thank you so much, our good news editor, for taking us through all these epic stories of the past month. My favorite is this teen who decided to open his sweets business and defy all odds and show this entrepreneurial spirit that is so often needed in South Africa. It reminds me of that gentleman who had created his own sandwich business in Johannesburg during lockdown to also try and make money. I interviewed him at the time. So it's just that unique South Africanness to say, no, I'm going to make it. I'm going to go and find the money. I'm going to my matric ball. I love it.
Absolutely. And the best part about this is that thousands of South Africans come out and support it and read it and want to know more. There really is, it's really bigger than just the person involved. It's a story we all want to celebrate and is newsworthy.
Shot, Paul. I really appreciate it. Have a fantastic day and good luck with the Newsbeat.
Cheers. Thanks, Graham.
To other stories, and we take a look at our trending topic now. The remand section of Pretoria's Vusi Matlala II maximum security prison has a new inmate for the foreseeable future. That's controversial Gauteng tenderpreneur Vusi Matlala, who today, dressed to the nines in a tailored suit, abandoned his bid for bail. He and his wife, Tsakani Matlala, have been criminally charged in connection with the attempted hit on the life of actress Tobogo Tobojane about 2 years ago. She emerged unscathed from the failed attack, but her friend was said to be badly wounded at the time. Heavily armed members of the police's special task force had surrounded the couple as they appeared in the dock of the Alexandra Magistrates Court. Vusi's charges include attempted murder and money laundering. Tsakani, however, got bail of 20,000 rand, but her well-dressed husband, the cat, will now await trial in a prison cell. Matlala is also the subject of a separate corruption probe into a dodgy, now cancelled SAPS health services tender worth multi-millions that his company unduly landed. Now, for details of this deal, you can listen to the May 19th edition of The Lead. It's called Has Vusi Cat Matlala Run Out of Lives? Jeff Wicks, our investigative journalist, on his arrest and tender trouble. That's on all your favorite streaming platforms. And finally, in your business news, the country's GDP only grew by around 0.1% in the first quarter of 2025. That's 3 percentage points less than the quarter before that. That's the last of 2024. Our economy only grew by 0.6% last year, and that's really nothing to write home about. But farming saved us in our last quarter of this year, jumping by nearly 16%. Stats SA says it's thanks to the good rains and animal products selling well. Without agriculture's gains, though, our News 24 business editor Helena Wasserman says the overall GDP would have actually contracted by 0.3%. Household spending is also generally on the up, with restaurants and hotels, transport and health categories topping that list. Mzansi's 2025 started off hopeful for economists and investors, but fears over the future stability of the Government of National Unity, the return of Eskom's power cuts and poor performing ports are among the factors that didn't do us any favours. Well, from good news taking over to a tender don in a prison cell. We hope you've enjoyed the show thus far. We're getting a lot more commentary these days. If we have a look at our last episode, the suspected ISIS SA leader who appeared in a Johannesburg court. We spoke to reporter Tankiso Maketa, giving us the latest about what he understands about the proliferation of these apparent ISIS sleeper cells throughout inner city Joburg. A lot of you have had plenty to say in the YouTube comment section. Ginger writes the following. ISIS has been in South Africa for years and the SAPS SA intel services have been doing a great job dealing with them. Glad it's finally getting some coverage. Tembi writes, stay in jail, no bail. Catherine writes, why hasn't this Sharia court been shut down? This has got to be stopped. Thank you so much. We'd like to hear more from you. You can always mail us at thelead@24.com. Hit the follow and subscribe buttons on our Spotify, Apple, and YouTube podcast channels. Those commentary sections for all those platforms are open too if you'd like to leave your say there as well. My name's Graham Robenheimer, your host. So long as there's good news, we'll have the lead.